who are going to tell us a little bit about their story and kind of just talk with us about their experience as foster youth and former foster youth. So I will go ahead and open up the panel to our four panelists who are listed on the screen that you all are seeing. Tanisha Saunders, Elizabeth Prudente, Belen Curel, and Juan Bran Gudiel. And I'll ask the folks that are on the panel if you can share your screen or turn on your camera, for folks if you're able to. And I'll have you introduce yourself. So we'll go just in order of the way we have it here. So I'll ask Tanisha to go ahead and start.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I'm honored to be here. My name is Tanisha Saunders. I go by pronouns she, her, hers. I am a former foster youth, community advocate, and activist. Yeah, I'm not sure if you wanted me to share anything else.
No, that's great. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Elizabeth Prudente. I recently just graduated from UCLA. I am still currently working with CCCP, so I'm still taking on that role, and I'm super excited to be here and super happy to see all of you here.
And Belen.
Hi, my name is Belen. I went to Los Angeles Valley College. I worked in student affairs. I'm a transfer student going to UC Riverside. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and
Thank you. And Juan.
Hello, everyone. My name is Juan Brangudiel. As my fellow co-student said, Belen, I'm from transfer student from Los Angeles Valley College. I'm currently attending UC Santa Barbara, and yeah, I'm super excited to see everybody. And thank you.
Thank you all for being here with us. Thank you for giving up your time on a Saturday. I know that you all are incredibly busy folk. So we'll just jump right into it. I think the first question that we have for you all, and this will be for everyone on the panel, and we'll just go in the opposite order. I will start with Juan. And if you're comfortable sharing, and please feel free to say if you're not, but we want this to be an honest and transparent conversation for folks. But we want everyone to also feel safe and brave in the space. So the first question I have for you is, how did you become a part of the foster system? If you could tell us a little bit about your story and your narrative.
Yeah, I have more, I guess, more to my story than I guess most foster youth would normally have. Um, I guess I guess I never met my parents. I got taken at a very early age. I was left with my stepdad like around, I guess two weeks or so. From there, I guess I was taken away from his care around 5 years of age due to him, I guess, abusing me and yes, just I guess leaving me unattended for like periods of time. And then excuse me. So basically, I was in the foster system for about, I guess, from the age 5.5 or so, 6 to I guess 18 or so. To I guess I was kicked out due to I guess being incarcerated and just going in and out of jail. I guess not being in the right path, and education I guess at the time wasn't for me. So I was just in the wrong path. But I guess sooner or later education I guess found me again. So thankfully here I am. But yeah, just it was a little tough too, but yeah, if I can do it, you guys can do it too.
Thank you, Juan. And then Belen. Oh, Belen, hun, you're on mute.
thank you. We're all muted now. That's the
No worries.
popular quote. I entered foster care when I was 14. My sister and I both were turned into foster care. Basically, our parents kicked us out. And so ever since I entered the foster care system, I was doing course in school, and I went from DCFS to probation because after I started doing that and I was going in and out of juvenile hall, um, I never liked school. I tried to avoid school. I always had anxiety going to school, so I would just try to avoid it as much as possible by ditching. But it's so um, it's so rare to me that I found education again and I'm actually trying to do something with it. And I mean, now I have contact with my parents now, so they're they still don't understand like what it is to go to college, and since they're parents of my parents are immigrants, but I'm just trying to do this by myself now, and like it keeps getting harder, but it's never impossible. So yeah.
Thank you for sharing. Thank you for your honesty. And Elizabeth?
So my story is a little bit sensitive. I mean, I'd be more than happy to share on one-on-one with someone if they're interested in knowing my story. I could give a general overview of kind of what happened. So, in elementary school, I was so close to my family. I guess you could say I'm the only child. Um, so having someone around me was something that I kind of had to have. But unfortunately, my mom, she was attending community college during that time, and was trying to get her certificate in respiratory therapy. So eventually, she was doing her rotations and later on graduated, got her job. But once she started working, she was working night shift, and my dad was working during the day. So oftentimes I found myself alone because when it was daytime, she was sleeping, and when she would get up right away, go to work, my dad, he would come home, eat, and then just sleep. So I felt, in a sense, neglected. So I was seeking, um, you could say, friendships that led me to the wrong path. So um, when my parents found out, they got aggravated, and there were some issues at home where the next day the police had to come and pick me up from school because I had bruises all over me, and they took that as abuse and me being in a harmful situation. So I was placed in foster care um, for almost a year, and then I went into the process to be placed in kinship, and that's how I kind of was placed in the foster system.
Thank you for sharing. I do want to take a moment to acknowledge the fact that some of these situations are all of these situations in a lot of ways are triggering, and I appreciate your honesty. And if anyone needs to step away or needs to take a break or needs to do whatever they need to do for care for themselves, please do. Please do. We want to be of support to you, and we wanted to center the space around the experiences of students that identify or were or are former foster youth. So then we know that this is part of the experience. So we wanted to be honest and truthful about that. So that's where these questions are coming from. With that, Tanisha, please.
Thank you. I appreciate the care and the safe space because it never gets easier. Like I'm 30. I just put myself out there. I know I look 18. But I feel like, so much of what I needed at a younger age, I'm finally getting stability now in this age, and it doesn't get easier to tell our stories. But I appreciate everybody here for sharing that. I was placed into foster care at the age of 16. So I was a little bit older than the average foster youth due to physical and emotional abuse. I didn't go straight into foster care. I told one of my school counselors who I really trusted, about the situation because I started to run away from my house and stay at my friend's place, but her mother was really concerned and told me to speak to someone. So I spoke with the counselor, and they connected my family with the child welfare system, and we did counseling, which wasn't successful. So it was determined that I would be placed into foster care. And at 16, kind of similar to Belen, I don't want to mess up your name. I started to turn away from school and started to, I would run away, and people laugh. Well, I laugh now because I would run away to Borders bookstore, Barnes and Noble to read because I didn't feel that school was my haven that it once was. I felt like everyone was looking at me after I came out and disclose what I was going through. I didn't feel supported. I felt hyper vigilant. I felt like everyone was looking at me. So it was a really tough time for me. In my senior year, I was reunified with my family because on paper, I went from being a straight A student to at risk of being kicked out of school. And so I was reunified with my parents or with my family. And then my journey continued.
Yeah, thank you. And we'll get into that. But I did, again, just wanted to center everyone's experiences and know where everyone was kind of coming from. There's the shared, and again, I'm an ally, right? So, and I also want to say, if I say anything that's not correct in terms of language or identity, please let me know. I want to be respectful of that and mindful of it and learn. But yeah, we wanted to center everyone's experiences around where they're coming from, because yes, there's this unifying foster youth identity, but there's also so many varieties and differences in that experience. So and also just to make sure that our students see themselves represented in your stories as well. So I think I'll just go ahead and start with some questions that we have for you all. So Tanisha, I'll go ahead and start with you. For those of you that don't know, Tanisha is a featured author and community advocate. And so one of the questions, yeah, rep that.
Toot toot.
As you should. I wanted to ask you, what it's like being former foster youth, and being public about it and being a proud advocate and telling these stories that don't always get heard, and what your experience has been around that.
I am extremely honored to be able to share my story. When I was in high school, when I was placed in foster care, I was embarrassed. I didn't know other foster youth. So all I had were the stigmas to go off of. So for me, even my best friends that I've known for 10 plus years, they didn't learn that I was in foster care until 2016, when I started being vocal about my experiences, through news articles, through speaking out and advocating. And that came as a direct response of being connected with other former foster youth and current foster youth. So I've been through several different bouts of adversity. So when I was returned with my family, our connection wasn't repaired. We still had those damages, but I went to college a couple of months after I was reunified with my family. And then in college, I still didn't have that community family feel. There weren't actually any foster youth dedicated services. We were looped into EOP and S. This is in 2007. I already aged myself. So I continued to hide those experiences. And it wasn't until I was connected with the National Foster Youth Institute through a childhood family friend who was actually a part of the family that started to take me in when I ran away, who was like, "Hey, Tanisha, you were in foster care. Would you like to be a part of this group?" I was a little burnt out from school. I was experiencing homelessness, and at first I was reluctant to join, but then they were like, "Oh, it's a retreat. You get to go to a hotel." And I was like, "All right, I'll spend a couple of days at a hotel with y'all." And when I got there, it was about 50 current and former foster youth from throughout the nation who were advocating in their communities, who were advocating nationally for legislation. And it just lit a fire under my butt. Like, you can't sit around, hiding this part of who you are or neglecting to highlight how much you have gone through. It has made you who you are. You're resilient, and it's nothing to be ashamed of. So being around these youth who, for the most part, were younger than me, but to see how strong they were, really helped me uncover that veil. Like, it's nothing to be ashamed of. What I went through, I'm kind of like a phoenix, going through the fire each and every time and coming back resilient. And it was through the strength of these youth who I met, who I'm still friends with today, who keep me going throughout Los Angeles, keep me going throughout the nation. I never had friends at a national scale until I was connected to them through National Foster Youth Institute. So I wear it as a badge of honor that I'm able to share my story. And like you're alluding to, Jewel, all of our stories aren't the same. We've interacted with these systems for different reasons and at different points in our life. But with each person who comes forward, we're able to see ourselves and get that much more confidence. So I'm honored. And I never thought I would be able to say I was in Teen Vogue or Cosmo magazine, Cosmopolitan. And I'm honored, and I share the torch anywhere I can. I'm constantly sharing opportunities, because it's not just one voice that needs to be heard, it's all of our voices collectively, and we have to continue advocating and sharing our stories.
Yes, all the way snaps around. I feel like snaps are due for that, and like, yes. So thank you for sharing that and empowering our students and all of us that are here. I think it speaks to all of our experiences as community college students and first gen students and students of color and all of the various identities that we intersectionally have. And I think I'll jump into kind of more questions around the transfer experience and school of that nature, because I think that's what a lot of our students are navigating right now and trying to figure out how to do it and how it works and those sorts of things. So Juan, my question for you, and it'll be the same question for Velin, is how did you get comfortable with the idea of transferring or attending a University of California school? We'll start with Juan. I'm just doing it randomly.
To be honest with you guys, it was a tough, I guess to think about it. Community college and just education wasn't for me. Even when I got there, I was still totally lost for like a couple years. I still didn't know what I was doing. To this day, sometimes I don't know what I'm doing. So it's just a little confusing here and there. But I kept, I guess, learning to accept, ask for help, and then learning to accept the help that's, was put in front of me. I didn't recognize that the help was there most of the time, since I was never used to it. So I guess learning to ask for it, since it was there, EOPs that was there, the counselors that was there. So I guess talking to them was, the first step, and talking to Alex Ojeda, talking to Jessica Ruiz, talking to you, Jewel, it was you guys that basically, like, implemented into my mind that I was able to do it. As I kept, I didn't have the confidence. I didn't think I had the confidence in myself to believe that I was able to do it. And once, those grades kept coming in, those A's and B's kept coming in, and, you guys, EOP kept telling me that, like, you're able to do it. And I was able to, realize what my potential, in a way, and kept asking for help. Like, I'm still afraid to ask for help, but it's still a step that I still gotta, I'm still learning to do. But yeah, it was a tough decision. I didn't know where I was gonna go. I didn't think I was gonna go anywhere, to be honest with you. Like, I didn't think I was good enough to go anywhere when I was even applying. When I didn't even know what to do. And I came to Jewel one time, and I was like, Jewel, like, I bursted into tears, to be honest with you guys. Like, I told her, I was like, this is not for me. Like, I'm done with school. Like, it's time for me to just drop out. Like, it's just, I'm done. Like, I've been here for like almost 4 or 5 years. It seemed like it, and I was just totally lost. But then talking to the counselors really helped, and, opening my eyes into seeing what, my potential. And once I was able to do it, like, I ultimately ended up in applying about 13 different universities. And I got accepted into 10 of them. Thankfully, one of them wasn't the one that I really wanted, but, most of them were there. My top school was UC Santa Barbara, and ultimately I ended up choosing UC Santa Barbara. I don't really know why it kind of took longer than I should have to commit it to UC Santa Barbara, but, I was knew I was, but Jewel, I was kind of told me that, she knew I was going to go there too. And I didn't think so, because of my grades, and there was a few classes that I was missing. But ultimately due to like other circumstances of, like, my path during, organization, other clubs that I'll mention later on, that kind of, boosted up my, little story, my PIQs, when I just poured my soul. When they tell you literally pour your soul into those PIQs, I mean, pour your soul into them, because you're literally selling yourself. And that's basically, the PIQs is what's basically got me into the UC Santa Barbara. And ultimately now I got so many scholarships, to the point that I'm not paying not one penny out of my pocket. And literally, I went there with nothing in my pocket. So to get, a couple scholarships of $60,000, that really helped and stuff like that. So it's like, if I can do it, it's, you guys are able to transfer as well. And, I was believing you guys. And don't forget, I always ask for help. Don't be afraid to ask for help. Accept the help. It's there. They're there to help you guys. That's what they're there for. Don't even think that you guys are bothering them, because trust me, I used to bother the crap out of Alex, Jewel, everybody. Like every day I would go into the office, and if that's what it takes for you to be successful, then that's what it's going to be taking, and just do it all. Just, you guys got this, and I believe in you guys.
Well, I think that's a really important point. One, you never and I appreciate you talking about asking for help, because I think as first gen students, we struggle with that, right? My assumption is that most of us in here are first generation students of color. And we struggle with the idea that we're bothering people when we have questions. And I think that's the first step, is realizing that you're not a bother, right? So thank you for talking about that. And it leads us into a really great conversation to have later on about how we ask for help and when we ask for help. So thank you for sharing that. Belen?
Yeah, to answer your question, yeah, I'm still not comfortable with knowing that I'm transferring. I'm not. I still have anxiety. I still have school anxiety. The only difference is that this time I'm not running away from it, and that I'm facing going to college. Pursuing my education, and I'm just as scared as much as I started when I started community college. But I mean, the thing is that I did it, and I know that I could keep, pursuing this education. And when I look back at transferring from community college, I was like, oh snap, I did it. What did I do? I don't even know what I did, but I did it. But that's how I feel. That I'm gonna have the same experience at UCR, even though I'm beyond scared. I am gonna be living on campus, so I just feel like that's gonna help me concentrate on what I need, on what's more important. That way, there will be like drama free and all that stuff, and I'll have my stability that for once I will have, I'll be independent. But what I've been doing is just asking my professors or anyone in student affairs to help me out. I've applied to CalFresh and just any way to help me save money. And that's been helping me out a lot. Although you see, this time is going to be a little bit more expensive, but I'm going to try to apply to all the scholarships that I can, and I still have my job, and also try to find other jobs off campus, odd jobs. But I'm still uncomfortable with the fact that I'm transferring. But that doesn't mean that I'm going to quit. I'm just going to try to face my fears and just try to finish.
Yeah. Working through those fears as we do it, right? I think someone once told me, and this is a professor told me, she goes, there's never a time where I don't do something terrified, but I do it anyways. So yeah. I think that's definitely, and I think we all do that, but we don't realize that we're doing it. So and I love what she said about, you don't even know what you did, but you did it. And I think sometimes it's like, okay, we're doing it. Like we have a goal in front of us, and we're pushing through. So yeah, definitely some great information here. Elizabeth?
Oh, okay. I thought it was just for Belen and Juan.
You know what, we're moving along. This is a family discussion, community discussion.
All right. Would you mind repeating the question again, just because since
how did you get comfortable with the idea of transferring and attending a UC?
Honestly, it was so difficult. I remember when I was in community college, I was so focused on just pursuing journalism. So initially, my thought was, okay, you go to high school and then you go to university. I didn't know that from community college, you were able to transfer. So I was like, okay, community college, I'm just gonna pursue journalism. But it wasn't until I had spoken to a counselor that they told me that they didn't know where I got this idea. And overall, it just felt so surreal to me. And originally, my dream was always to pursue law school. And that's when I decided, okay, I'm going to switch my major into poli sci. But I never thought about a UC because I felt that it was so far to reach, and just given to the background that I had um, back in high school and also middle school, where my grades were fluctuating. Um, I didn't think that I was going to be able to even transfer to university at some point. So it wasn't until I joined a club and program named Puente, and the director there was like, no, like, believe in yourself. And that's when I was introduced to this program, CCCP, and another research program that um, undergraduates were able to apply to be a part of a 10-day residential program at Loyola Marymount. Um, so when I saw that I was able to be a part of this program and do that research program, I started to believe in myself, and I was like, you know what? I could actually do this. So when I was applying, I was preparing my PIQs, because one of the requirements for the program was that you meet up with a mentor 3 times over the course of the fall. So my mentor knew that I was ready to apply to transfer. But each time I would show up, I never had my PIQs. So my mentor was like, you know what? Next time, don't meet me until you have your PIQs. So at least just one response. So I took it, and he's like, you could do better than this. I've worked with you before. I know you can do better. Um, Long story short, I never went back to see my mentor, at least that semester. And I waited until the last day of the deadline to work on my PIQs, because I was just so scared of the transfer process. I ended up just, okay, taking my time. I ended up skipping all my classes because I was like, okay, if I'm gonna actually do this, I need to sit down and actually just do it. But when it was coming close to the deadline, the last PIQ I remember writing was the one that focused on what makes you stand out. And I was like, okay, this is the hardest one. And I related it to my experience growing up as a former foster youth, the challenges that I was facing at that time as a community college student, but surprisingly reflecting on how well I was doing in my classes despite um, the challenges that I was going through. And I remember just once I submitted my application, I panicked and I did not want to know um, about the responses I was gonna get for spring. And the envelopes were coming in, and I was like, I'm not gonna open them. The notifications in the emails, I'm not gonna open them. But my parents began to ask me what happened. And once I sat down with them and opened the decisions, I was like, wow, okay. It finally sat in of me, finally accepting that I'm able to transfer, that I'm capable of doing things that I never thought I could do. But yeah, it took me a good, I guess you could say, 3 years. My first semester at community college, I dropped out halfway through, or at least I thought I dropped out. I thought my professors were gonna drop me, and I ended up getting Fs, and I just never came back until the following year. So that tells a lot of my experience not really believing in myself and the education system. But yeah, it wasn't until that time where I really where it really sat in.
Thank you all for sharing. That leads me to a really great question. And Tanisha, I'll start with you. How did you develop, like, I'm trying to think about how to phrase this, right? To be mindful, but how do you find trust in folks after having been through a system that doesn't historically, provide what they say they're going to? And again, correct me if that's an improper way to phrase it, but I think that's a question. Like, how do you find trust in educational systems? Or how did you specifically?
I think trust is developed. Thankfully, I'll go over a little bit of the previous question because I think it's important to highlight. I am a non-traditional reverse transfer. That wouldn't fit in my bio, so I was saving it for right now. When I was placed reunified with my family, I did go off to Cal State University, Northridge. I was there for 2 years, kind of just wandering around. I could find my way to the turn up, but not to class. So after 2 years, they were like, turn around, go home. And I was academically disqualified. I thought I'd just be able to work and I'd be cool. But after working in retail for years, I realized that I wasn't going to be promoted. Like, education was really important. So I eventually decided to go back to school. And when I went back to school, I wanted to just get my associate's degree and become a preschool educator or early childhood educator. But it was professors who basically stopped me and was like, hey, we see you getting these A's. And I was like, yes, I'm getting A's, I'm good. And they really like mentored me. They put me on pause. They connected me with programs that were parallel to my career goals, but also focused on transferring actually back to Northridge. They sat me down and was like, asked me what I was interested in, what my goals are, and mentored me and coached me. So I think that was a large part of the trust, was having professors that cared enough to see me when I didn't see myself. The education system, I'm gonna just be honest, it's still giving me trust issues. Just because there'll be little things, such as transfer information, such as counselors. I didn't have a dedicated counselor. I felt like my counselor was changed every semester. One counselor would say something and I would go back and it'd be something else. So that affected my trust in the education system. However, it was because I had professors as allies. I was a part of the community. I was persistent in advocating for myself, that I just had to come to the realization that things will happen, but I can't let that deter me. So I think grit and our resilience is what, or my resilience is what helps me establish that trust, that I trust that there are going to be some setbacks in the education system, but I have to continue to fight through and advocate for myself and have those allies who are there to support me, walk me through certain situations, and really be there to kind of give me the flip side. So having people on staff, educators, professors who've gone through this and actually joining clubs and being a part of programs, they help you, because it's like you don't always have to go to the financial aid office first. You can sit down and talk with somebody, and kind of get your ducks in a row, know what paperwork to get ready. So you're kind of going armored into these offices, because I still have trust issues.
That's real. Thank you for being honest. Would anybody else like to address that question on the panel? Yeah, go ahead, Juan. You can just go ahead and unmute yourself.
Yeah, like what my fellow panelists were saying, Tanisha, I still find it, I guess, difficult to, I guess, trust the education system, but I guess I'm learning to, I guess, if this makes any sort of sense, like I'm switching it to the point of like I'm making the system work for me in a way, to the point it's like I'm basically telling them like, because when I first got my financial aid package and other stuff like that, like I was getting so much information and stuff like that, and it's like they were telling me, oh no, like you're gonna owe this much money, and I was like, then I was like, I'm coming with you with nothing, and you're gonna tell me about scholarships, you're gonna tell me about paperwork that I need to fill out to like somehow increase this financial aid services, anything that I can like, you're gonna do anything in your power to get this for me to get this money, because there's no way some higher power, some professor, some CEO sitting in the president sitting with like a couple million in his pocket, and yet he can't, spare $30,000. Like I'm pretty sure they can spare some money for our education. Like you can't tell me that. No, like I literally at this point in time, like I guess I'm learning to really advocate for myself, because like I guess when I got there, especially through this pandemic, it's really hard to like, hey, I'm gonna go to the office and walk to this door, and talk to this person. Like you really can't do that nowadays. So it's like really, I guess, emailing people, bugging the crap out of them, telling them, like somehow, some way, you're gonna work for me and you're gonna make this happen for me, because I ain't got nothing, and somehow like it's gonna happen. And it's still like things we're saying, it's like still that trust. It's like you're still gonna meet those, I guess, encounter those, I guess, professors and different counselors that like you're not gonna have that trust. And it's like you find there's not, I guess, what I want to say is that like they're not all bad. There's always some good counselors, always good professors that are like they're in there for the good reason. And it's like, I guess, like I was like, how can I say this, it just don't let those, I guess, setbacks just set you back. Just don't let those encounters set you back and say like just give up. It just, there's always a way to go around those hurdles. And it just, really just step by step, I guess I want to say, just step by step. And it's going to take a while, but this education system is not, it wasn't built for us. It was built for the white person, and it wasn't built for the color, the first gen or non-traditional. It wasn't built for us, but somehow, some way, we're making it work for us. And like you guys are here and you guys will make it. But like just advocate for you guys. That's all that's really gotta say.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I think I'll move back into some other questions about, can any of you, or let me address this specifically. Elizabeth, I'd like to ask you about your involvement on campus and how you got involved on campus, how you stay involved, how you navigated all of that, and what enabled you to, both at the community college and once you transferred.
Okay, so at community college, I was really involved. I was a part of the political science club. I was a part of Puente, and I was a part of a pre-law program called Pathway to Law. And overall, I feel like a lot of us, in a sense, we did work together, especially in advocacy. So when Trump got elected, a whole group of us, we pretty much were organizing to go to the monthly meetings at the LACC, board, and overall just fight for a resolution to protect the students that are you could correct me if I'm wrong for the language, documented or overall identify as an undocumented student. There was a scare at ELAC, unfortunately, as well, where an email went out to staff, students, faculty, that ICE was present on the campus, and a lot of faculty and students did not know their rights. So we really pushed to protect our students and also have that accessibility for allies and also the students themselves to know the rights in order to protect. Gratefully, that resolution did pass. So I'm very, very proud of that. And once I graduated from ELAC, I got involved with an organization called Food and Water Watch. And we were going constantly to the water district over at Commerce and just advocating for cleaner water, and also to not support the Delta tunnels being built over in the Bay Area. That's a whole different story though. But long story short, an opportunity was like presented to me where it's funny because I'm here advocating against things that the city wants to do, and then they wanted to hire me to be a part of their board. But because I was already preparing myself to transfer to UCLA, I knew that I couldn't do that. And as a UCLA transfer, I currently and did live in Rosemead throughout my whole time going to UCLA. So I would commute, and that drive would sometimes be like 2 hours, 2.5 hours. And being able to work a job out on this area, it was not going to be possible. So then, because I was a part of CCCP, I had the opportunity to also work with them as a peer mentor. And I'm super happy that I did that, because if it weren't for CCCP, I would not have thought about getting involved on campus. So my first year, I just focused on working and going to school. I didn't really get involved. And my second year, I became a immigration director for one of the offices in student government. And I was very proud of doing that. I had the opportunity to lobby. And my third year, I ended up, actually, backtrack. I also joined the research program my second year, which I'm super proud of, where I did my research on sanctuary and overall the sanctuary movement here in Los Angeles. And yeah, so that was super exciting. Third year, I kind of took a step back because I wanted to do really well in my last classes. And one of the main reasons why I stayed a third year as well was because my first 2 years, I didn't really network with professors or TAs. So the plan is to apply to law school, and I would need letters of recommendations for that. So that's one focus that I mainly did my third year. But today, I am now doing an internship with an organization called Human Rights First. So overall, doing refugee representation. So I'm doing screenings, interviews, translations and documentations, and overall just trying to get the paperwork for refugees processed. And it's been super exciting to continue to work with the community, starting from community college to now. And I don't think I'll ever stop. So, and this is all thanks to CCCP, because they really pushed me to get involved.
We're good that way, right? Thank you, Elizabeth. Belen, I wanted to ask you as well, sort of the same question, but how have you navigated your experiences as former foster youth, into what you want to do professionally? Or what you think you want to do professionally, because that could change too.
Yeah, it actually has changed 3 times. But I first started off when I went back to college as a dental hygiene major. No, it was a biology major, and it was difficult already. So then I changed it to just dental hygiene, and it was when I was majored in dental hygiene that I heard about Guardian Scholars. Shout out to Guardian Scholars, and so I got into that, and I started talking to my counselor Jessica Ruiz, and she is a counselor for Guardian Scholars, and I would ask her about her bachelor's and like what, because I had no idea what I wanted to do. I was just kind of lost, just kind of going with the flow, just trying to see what everybody else was doing. So maybe I could do the same thing, just try to find the easy way out. But um, I learned that the reason I like the dental field is because I just like helping people. And it wasn't until then that I realized, hey, maybe what if I should start trying to help foster youth by just trying to inform them about all these opportunities that they have, like free money to go to college. It helps them survive with Chafee grants that I was so grateful for. So I decided to apply to EOPS and Guardian Scholars. At first, to be honest, to answer the other question, I was like a little embarrassed to apply to Guardian Scholars, identify that I was a former foster youth, just because I don't know, I just was embarrassed that I was an orphan, I guess. I don't know. I really don't understand that part, but I did it, and I found out like a lot about my counselor and how there's many job opportunities in helping minorities and sociology, and I'm pretty sure in anthropology and other majors too, but I just chose sociology. And I try to do my own research and what I can do, maybe a social worker or might change from now on. But I found that there's many ways to help former foster youth, and that's what I want to do my professionalism in. And yeah, I mean, now that I am transferring to UC, I'm going to be trying to apply to any nonprofit organizations, and just as a side job, just because I want to try to get more involved and see maybe if I change my major, maybe I won't, but definitely I know that I want to help people, especially minority people of color.
Thank you, Valen. And I think that's a thread, right? I think that's a theme, and talking about that. And I think, and Tanisha, I want to ask you the same question, because I know that you have a lot to say about that, and the work that you're currently doing. So please share with us.
Yeah, definitely. I love the sequence of your questions because they do feed into each other. So I am going to touch back onto the previous question because it goes back to the mentors that I had who were my professors, who really stopped me in my tracks to basically have me connect things that I was learning in the textbook to the real world. So my first semester at Los Angeles Pierce College, we were learning the basics about child development and Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And then, they would ask me, how would you implement that on campus, or how are you getting involved? What are the things that you're thinking about doing? Because I was just in the bigger picture. Let me get my degree. Let me get out of here. But I started thinking and pondering more about their questions and how they were kind of scaffolding my development. And I realized, our students don't have their basic needs met when, we have students at the community college who are experiencing homelessness, who aren't getting food. So I became heavily involved. I couldn't just dip my toe in. I was a ASO senator. I was the Child Development Club president. I was a peer mentor. At my community college, in addition to being in these programs that were focused on my individual career. And that campus-based involvement basically showed me how much opportunity there was to support our students better. And so I continued to want to be a preschool teacher. And it wasn't until I transferred to Cal State University Dominguez Hills that I got more involved off campus and started to get more involved in the community as an activist, as an advocate with the National Foster Youth Institute, where we basically rallied around legislation at the local level and national level. I got involved with Black Lives Matter and kind of saw the intersections of my experiences within foster care as an African American, but just how our systems are really working against us at the community level. So for me, I want to take my education and foster care background and eventually go back to school for my MSW so that I can work on capacity building at our high school level to support foster youth. So we're not waiting until we get to college or, and beyond, because a lot of what we need is community. A lot of what helped me grow as an adult was being surrounded by other foster youth who were current or former foster youth. So my career basically launched because of the folks in my life who showed me care, the folks in my life who really poured into me. And I think that's something that is near and dear to me. So definitely how CCP is having this foster youth transfers panel, how the panels that you all have been doing have been really tailored to populations. And I think that there's a great opportunity to continue doing things like that, where we're bringing people who have these experiences together to not only advocate for themselves, but to create bigger and better community. And I think that we have an opportunity to better that. I hope I answered the question.
You most certainly did. Thank you. Thank you. And I think I've got a couple more questions, and then we're going to open it up to folks in the room who have questions for you all. But one of the questions that I have, and this is specifically for Belen and Juan, because they are current students, how are you navigating higher ed right now? How are you navigating school being in a virtual environment? I know specifically for Juan, you've started school, and how are you navigating that and getting what you need in this time? Not being able, like you mentioned, not being able to go into offices, not being able to have that one-on-one connection with people, so to speak. So just kind of answering around that. We'll start with Juan, and then we'll go to Belen.
It's been exhausting. It's in Zoom class, Zoom courses, and just having 8-hour lectures through Zoom, and just by the end of the time, it just you're done with Zoom. You just don't want to deal with Zoom. But overall, just it's a new experience. I basically I was hated classes online, so it's like to put me in out of my comfort zone. I guess it's testing my limits to see and that I'm able to do it, and it's going. But luckily right now I'm working on my final right now, just taking a little break with you guys. Thank you guys giving me a little break. Not worrying about that. So but besides that, it's been tough. Just trying to get used to everything. But like I said earlier, really advocate for yourself. Bugging the crap out of your professors, going to those TA hours. I learned that not many students at all go to those TA hours, so I try to just always go into them whenever they have them, even if it is just to say, how did you get into this line of work, whatever it may be, just to even get a conversation started. Just go into those TA hours, those office hours for those professors. Bug them, email them, call them if you're able to call them. Depends on the office, whatever it may be, whatever you need. But yeah, just advocate for yourself, especially now through this pandemic. You got to email and just make those phone calls. Sometimes it is frustrating. You're like, I got to make that phone call for the 10th time, but if it takes 20, 30 times, that's what it takes for you to get that money, whatever that bug, whatever it may be. Make those calls, make those emails, and just gotta bug the crap out of them.
And if I may, can I add one question before Belen goes? How are you navigating that and being in a new environment and being a parent?
Yeah, the kiddos, they keep me, I guess, sane. Just trying to navigate through all this is just I know it's a little difficult. Still trying to, I guess, go in, because it's a lot easier to not like be like, okay, I'm not gonna go, I'm not gonna press that Zoom in, to join the meeting. It's a lot easier to like just do that and just say, I just figure it out myself, because like most of us, we like, we don't need anybody's help, we can do it on our own. But we kind of just need to push our pride to the side and be like, what, I gotta join that Zoom call, and I gotta ask, even if it's maybe to you it may be the dumbest question, but to them it be like the smartest question that you ever asked. And I don't know. It's a new world that I've been experiencing. I'm still learning how to, I guess, navigate everything. Especially trying to being a parent, trying to, I guess, teach them how to navigate Zoom, teach them how to learn through all that. Just it's been a little bit more difficult, because I guess sometimes it's harder to get a hold of those, I guess, professors or email. Sometimes they don't really respond back to you within the time, so you gotta keep sending the email. But sooner or later they'll get back to you. After consistency. Sometimes they see, emails. I get it. Emails do get lost. Phone calls do get deleted. Whatever. But by the third, fourth time, professors should be able to like get back to you or whatever. In your question, answer your question. But I'm not sure if I really answered the question by that. But yeah, it's been a new world to experience.
I think by sharing your experiences, people resonate with that. So hearing that we're not alone in certain experiences is super helpful. And Belen, if you wanted to add anything to that.
Yes. Well, I haven't started my quarter yet, but I'll be starting October 1st. So that still gives me some time to do things that calms my anxiety that I'll be starting school soon. But since I will be moving in about 2 weeks, I'm very thankful that Guardian Scholars in UC Riverside is going to remain open and to go in person. And there's like a food pantry and there's resources that never change. Also, all my books will be paid for. So I'm very thankful about that. And so far, that's how I can start navigating, at least with the coordinator of Guardian Scholars, asking them everything, and they can refer me to other resources as well. But I'm sure that even though things are going to be going on through Zoom, that I'll navigate perfectly. I mean, there's going to be some doubts and some struggles, but I mean, there's always people there to help us.
Oh yeah, Juan, did you want to add something?
Yeah, I just want to add to, I guess, really do your research now, because I guess I really learned myself to, like, I guess I really had to do my research and what type of scholarships that I'm able to, I guess, get and receive while I'm at UC Santa Barbara, because I guess there's certain programs that I didn't even know that they had. And as a former incarcerated person, I never thought I was even be in this situation. So I just kept doing research. I've spent on the computer about, like, I guess 2 weeks or so, just looking at different programs from EOPS to EOP, just looking at everything that they had. And basically I ended up finding different programs I didn't even know that, was possible, like Underground Scholars Program, which is specifically for students that have been incarcerated. And thankfully through that, like, I was able to, like, get certain I just received a scholarship, I guess, this past Wednesday. I guess I got notice that I got accepted into it. That's where the $60,000 scholarship came in. And I didn't know none of this money was even available to us without, me just saying, like, I'm gonna do some research. I'm bored right now. I got, a little bit of time. Let me just go see what this UC Santa Barbara website is about. Just keep putting in random searches, and but yeah, do your research on scholarships. There's money out there. You just got to go out there and, you might do a little work, a little essay here and there, a little PIQs here and there, but trust me, it's worth it. Once you see that check comes in, you see it right there in your account. You see, oh shit, that money is there. You might not really be able to touch it, but it pays all your bills and it's there. Like, just do that little bit of research and it pays off. Trust me.
Thank you. My last question, formal question, is going to be, or that's not true. I have 2 more questions. I lied. The first one is, and this is for each of you. What advice would you have given yourself in community college? And we'll start with Elizabeth.
My advice, it's going to pretty much touch upon what Juan said. Advocate for yourself and really do your research. I could say, and this is not to scare a lot of people, it's just kind of like, this is why you should do your research. I am in some debt, and that's because each time when I would apply to financial aid, I wasn't eligible because I would never select that I was a former foster youth. And all the documentation that I had that proves that I'm a former foster youth is lost, probably destroyed. Um, and overall, having that conversation with my parents, it was kind of that fear of kind of putting myself out there. And I have this trauma. Well, I'm overcoming it, but during that time I had this trauma where back to middle school when I was removed, I felt like everyone looked at me a certain way. So I didn't want to feel like that again. So everything for community college was out of pocket, and the foster youth program I wasn't eligible to be a part of because I was in foster care and kinship from 13 to 15. And in order for me to be a part of it, I had been in the foster care system in at the age of 16 and over. So when I got here to UCLA, it was the same thing. I had to get loans in order to be able to afford tuition. But later I did connect with friends that were former foster youth, and they told me, you know, Brew and Garden Scholars here is very flexible as long as you have something that just says that you were placed in foster care, then that would work. So I went to the children's court to try to request paperwork. And unfortunately, until this day, I haven't heard back to go and pick it up. So I had to like throw my house upside down in order to find a paper that proved. But I wasn't able to be a part of Growing Guardian Scholars until my last year at UCLA, unfortunately. But if I would have had more research and overall being able to advocate for myself more, I probably never would have ended up in debt. So just like Juan said, like hustle, advocate, do your research, get your money that you deserve to be able to afford an institution that really isn't supposed to be for us. That's why it's like so hard for people like us to be able to actually afford it. But yeah, overall, just do your research, just hustle, and yeah, that would be the advice.
Thank you, Elizabeth. So we'll go with Belen.
My advice, I'm 25 now, so I just put that out there too. My advice is that, well, when I went to college, I was 18, and I dropped out and I returned 2 years ago. So I wish that I just never quit and I believed in myself and I stayed, and I probably would have already graduated. So definitely stay in college and not give up on yourself and believe in yourself, because that's what made me drop out. I didn't believe in myself. I didn't have confidence. And I also agree with Juan, to advocate for yourself. I once heard from a panel speaker, a former foster youth panel speaker, that you have to milk the cow because they took everything away from you. You have to milk the system. And that's very true. So the way I see it, I try to take as much advantage of the system as they took of us. So, that's applying to scholarships, after scholarships. And there's been a few times that I go to financial aid and they see how much money I'm getting, and they just think it's a mistake, or like, why am I getting so much money? It's like they don't like to see people of color getting so much money, because they're just like, what is she doing to get this money, or something like that. I've had a lot of encounters like that. But it's our money, and we should take advantage of it. And my greatest advice is just take advantage of all the money that there is for former foster youth.
And then we'll go with Tanisha.
I think you all have given great responses to get right out of my mouth. Take advantage of the opportunities that are there. Also, get involved with the programs, the Guardian Scholars that are on your community college campuses. When I returned to school and was on my community college campus, again, I initially had the stigma of being a former foster youth. I didn't have my paperwork that said that I was in foster care, and I had so much anxiety around it that I think I tried to go to the office one time and the person wasn't there. And I had a conversation with someone who was in the program, and they said there might have been an age cutoff. And I, being a non-traditional student, was like, oh, that's one more thing that I'm not qualified for. I didn't persist. I didn't go and talk to them. So I think just fighting through your anxieties or fears and taking, I don't want to say taking advantage, but utilizing the resources that are there for you, because I don't want to further stigmatize us. We're not robbing, we're not stealing. It's there for us. And if anything, they need to be more persistent in getting that information to us. But yeah, and community, building a community on your campus, whether it's your squad of friends, but just having that community on your college campus.
Great. And Juan?
Sorry, what was the question again? My bad.
What advice would you have given yourself in community college?
I guess learn to accept the help and realize that it was there. I guess earlier. I guess I was blind by it. I guess I didn't want to accept it. I guess I didn't want to accept that it was there. But yeah, I guess I would. I also would, I guess, be more involved with my community, like in the clubs and the organizations. And like, I didn't get into them till like, I guess, my end of like second or third year there. By that time I did get into them, I was, sociology clubs here and there, president here and there, and just little stuff like that. I guess I never thought I would be able to do, but I guess I would have been more involved, besides the things that I was involved in. I guess I would have wanted to, I guess, being more involved, but due to work, my kids, other schedules, times, just, had to limit myself, obviously, but, that's the also thing, have to do self-care and, know your limits. But it just, yeah, I would have been more involved, I think, just learning to ask for the help, learning to, I see, what's around, like Tanisha said, I like that word, what she said, utilize the resources. That's a strong key word. I'm gonna start using that because, taking advantage is a little, I don't like that either. But yeah, but yeah, we're gonna start, just really utilize what's there for us, because it's there in front of us. And like she said, I guess we're not being told that it's there, and so I guess it's too late, and I guess we're aged out of it. And by the time it's like we don't get shit, and we're like, oh damn, I don't get anything. And you do get bummed out because you see everybody else getting stuff, but you're like, ah damn it, but there's other stuff that other resources that you can take advantage of, or I guess utilize. And it just, yeah, just being really involved in whatever it may be. Like there's different ways that you can be involved in your school community. Like Elizabeth said, you can do outside stuff. For example, you can do volunteering work. I was able to, I guess, form a group within our sociology club to, I guess, during the weekend, we just, I guess 2 weekends or so, 2 Saturdays or so out of the month, we just get together in our own time, go down to LA to the rescue mission shelter, and we just volunteer a few hours of our time. It will keep us humble, just try to share to them, and, like you can choose trying to, I guess, enroll their students, the youth into, the local elementary school, even though like they think that, like, oh, we're homeless, we don't have a shelter, we can't get them into education. Like, it doesn't matter. There's still resources that the school can implement and give them to make sure that the youth are successful. And it's just stuff like that you're able to, to do that. It makes a difference little by little. Even to you, it might not seem to, it might not seem like, but, like Elizabeth said, Tanisha was saying that you can just get involved in different ways. There's many varieties of ways that you can get involved, whether it's in your community or at school. And it just, step by step, I guess, just because I know it's a lot harder to be like, oh, putting yourself out there, it's a lot harder to do, especially for people like us. We don't really like to show ourselves and put ourselves in a spotlight, because we don't like that. It's kind of that attention. But it just just it's okay, just putting yourself out there, it's okay. It's fine. You know, being in that spotlight, thinking that you're not able to do it, you're able to do it, whatever, maybe, you know, maybe just take a try, take a stab at it and just see what, what comes out of it. And you never know, you might become president of your club. You might be just do a whole, organization. You just never know. But to this day, luckily through all these little, I guess, communities and organizations, I didn't think I was able to like ever do research. And doing research through clubs and little projects that we're gonna put a walk here, do some research there, stuff like that. The little research, I guess, allowed me to, I guess, be in a situation that I am now, and being involved in my school. Basically, I never thought that I would be able to. I was like, I'm gonna go to UC Santa Barbara. I'm just stay low key, just get my degree, just get the hell out of there. Just mind my business. I'm not gonna do no research. I'm not trying to do, with nobody. Just mind my P's and Q's, and I'm out of there. But luckily, and the next thing you know, just I'm getting a phone call saying, you want to come do research. We read your paper, we read, your bio and stuff like that. You fit perfectly for our head research, and we want you to be taking hold of this project. And it's the underground scholar behind the wall scholars program. And it's basically research that I gotta do, basically try to implement courses in this incarceration system, and try to see like their education system and what they have implemented, and basically what we can do to, once they got out of jail, basically what we can do to basically get them into community college and hopefully transfer them into a 4-year university. So hopefully that's our goal ultimately in our little project that we're trying to get started. And hopefully I start on Monday. So hopefully, that's something going good. But it's something, things that I never thought I would be able to do. And, opportunities that I thought I would never be able to get. But here I am, and, just taking little tries at it, taking little stabs at it, and, just putting yourself out there, it'll pay off.
Thank you. Thank you. I am going to open up the conversation to anyone who may have questions for our panelists. It's been such a great panel. So I want to first of all thank you all for you sharing your knowledge, sharing your stories, being transparent, being honest and vulnerable with us. So thank you for that. Thank you for your time as well. I do want to open it up for any questions, if anybody has any questions that are in the chat. And I will ask Cinnamon or any from the team if you all can help me monitor the chat, because I can't see it, the wonders of Zoom. But I think I do want to start, if no one, while we're waiting for questions to come in, a question about, how, and I'll put this to certain people just for the sake of time, but how you overcame the stigma of being foster youth. And I think we've kind of talked about it a little bit, but how you overcame the stigma of being foster youth or former foster youth, to feel empowered. And I think I'll go with Tanisha for that first one, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, I spoke a little bit about this earlier. It was through seeing the strength and resilience of other foster youth. And that's in everyday life, and seeing them on a national celebrity scale, that also has helped. I'm not gonna lie, I still deal with imposter syndrome, but then I remember who I am and the resilience that I have, and I snap out of it. But it's just a constant reality check. I do vow to give myself more grace and space, the same grace that I give others, giving that back to ourselves. Because something that I have seen is that I'm really hard on myself. Sometimes thoughts get negative about how far I've come or the things that I've gone through. And then the realization that, again, I'm 30 and a lot of the foundational things that I needed, family bonds, they're not perfect, but I'm not looking for perfection. I honor my story, I honor my journey, and I honor myself, and I honor you all. And I think that's something that keeps me going, keeps me strong and confident.
Thank you. Belen?
Yeah, what's helped me inspire my motivation in going to college is seeing a group of former foster youth talking about college life and how they are trying to adapt, and just seeing them unite and trying to do it all together, and know that it's not no competition if someone graduates first. Definitely helps me out, like lowers my anxiety, because I have a lot of anxiety, but it definitely helps me out knowing that there's more of us. We're not alone in this struggle of trying to go to college and being the first in your family as a former foster youth to go to college. So that I hope that answered that question.
It definitely did. Definitely did. So there are a couple of questions in the chat. So one from Anastasia, and if I'm pronouncing that wrong, I apologize. Anastasia, how do you go about searching for scholarships without encountering all the clickbait? Any advice? Oh, and Tanisha's already on it. She's answering in the chat. So this is, we're all learning how to do Zoom. This is
I
great.
was just like, let me see this real quick. At my community college, I didn't think that there was a lot of scholarships available, but there actually were. I started within my child development department. Like I said, I was a part of a child development workforce initiative. So they gave us grants, but then there was also a scholarship opportunity within that. So I applied within my department. I applied within my program. I applied for our campus presidential scholarships and opportunities like that. So I think, so it's real and not just like a scholarship where it's like those sweepstakes where you have to like do weird stuff. I would start locally within your department on your campus. Something that was also helpful was to look in your community philanthropy. If you have a religious institution, sometimes they offer scholarships, local celebrities offer scholarships. I got about $6,000 worth of scholarships in my last semester at my community college. And it was through those combinations.
Awesome. There's another question. Should I mention my foster care status in my tag or TAP application? I don't want to take away from any of our panelists, but I'm going to go ahead and say yes. Please do make sure they're in your personal insight questions. Yeah, so I definitely would answer that. And I don't know if any of our other panelists want to answer that. Tag and TAP are very specific to UCs, but also in terms of like the personal insight questions or scholarships that you write, scholarship essays and personal statements that you write. I don't know if any of our panelists want to add to that, or maybe how they did it, how they navigated that without feeling like they had to put themselves out there, but also to make sure that people knew.
In the tag there will not be a question.
We got major echo, but yeah. So in anything, I would strongly advise that anything that you write, anything that you have to submit, make sure that you include that so people know, not in a way to stigmatize you, but in a way that makes them know that this is what I need, and advocating for yourself, which has been a theme of this panel. So that, unfortunately, we're at time for today's session. And I know that our panelists, their information is available on the website that we've created for you all, and I'm sure they'd be happy to share their information with you to reach out if you have any specific questions or just want to talk to them some more and continue building that community. So I just want to say thank you to you all for your time and your energy and your wisdom and your knowledge. Thank you for letting us share space with you all. And yeah, I'm going to turn it back over to Cinnamon and the crew to close us out for today. So thank you all.
Hi, thank you so much to our panelists again. And we do have a question in the chat from Yvette. So if anyone from the panel wants to answer that in the chat, that would be highly appreciated. Questions regarding doing medical school. So congratulations, Yvette. Wow, medical school is awesome. So I wanted to quickly say, thank you again to everyone for being here. We have a few more things. We're almost done. We do have a raffle coming up in a minute, but really quickly, I'm going to turn it over to Astrid, who's going to remind you.
Yeah, hello everyone. So just like Cinnamon was saying, we do have a raffle that we're doing, and that also includes the evaluation form. So one student is going to be selected from the evaluation form. So could you please scan the QR code and fill them out? That also gives us an idea of what things that we need to work on, things that you'd like to see. There's also a safe space for you. So we also created a group meet. If you want to join, you could also scan the QR code that's on the screen right now.
Yeah, so we'll leave it on for just a minute, just so you guys can take that minute to scan it. We are just really quickly, we're doing our raffle and we're choosing 3 winners from the raffle right now, and we're gonna choose an additional winner from the evaluations. So if you don't win right now, you can still win if you do the evaluation. So we highly encourage it. And we also included the evaluation link. It's on the website and it's also in the, believe it was on the email, but if not, it's definitely on the website. And the website information is on the confirmation email you got last night. And with that being said, I'm going to turn it over to Ashley, who's going to do the raffle. And you guys are going to be able to win some UCLA swag. So this should be fun.
Yes, so I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And just let me know if the screen is sharing. Okay. Can anyone confirm with me that if my screen is sharing?
Yes, it is.
Okay. So I'm gonna go ahead and click the spin. Congratulations, Jessica. So you'll be receiving some UCLA swag.
Two more winners. Let's see, 2 more.
Misty, congrats. You'll also be receiving some swaggy. All right, next. And congrats, Mauricio. You'll also be receiving some awesome swag. I guess we can ask for your emails, just so we can send you some more info on how you'll be able to receive some of this, your prizes. I'm gonna go ahead and stop sharing my screen. Congratulations to all of you.
Congratulations, everyone. Thank you so much for sticking around for that. So I want to quickly remind you that, and thank you so much, Ashley. And I want to quickly remind you that we have a few upcoming webinars. So we do have our STEM webinar next Saturday, and we also have our NPI webinar coming up. We also, I'm like, oh, there's so many webinars happening. We're also doing a non-traditional webinar. So all of the dates are on our website. Please, please, please join us. They're going to be amazing. The planning committees for those have been so diligent, working so hard. So please join us. And we also want to let you know that if you want admissions information, UCLA will be having a workshop on, I believe, they'll be having a virtual workshop on, I believe, October 3rd, if I'm not mistaken. And the general UC system will be doing different events as well. So we have all that information in a flip book that we're presenting to you. So really quickly, before we finish out the day with some positive affirmations, Sophia Stadler, one of the peer mentors who helped put on this amazing event, is going to share the flip book that we created for you all. And we will be sending this to you as a follow-up email. So Sophia, do you want to share your screen really quickly?
Yes, of course. And if you can give me a confirmation that it is sharing, that'd be great right now. Is it good?
Yes, sharing. Yeah, and we can see it, so you can just go through it.
Okay, perfect. I'm going to go full screen. This is what the front cover looks like. And we made this resource pamphlet kind of book to help you try and navigate your online experience. We know that there's a lot of needs that you may not be sure as a new transfer how to navigate, especially in an online environment. So we decided to create this pamphlet for you at home so you can go through it multiple different times and see what may be able to help you be your best you at home. So I'm going to go directly to our table of contents. And this is a little bit of everything we go through. We go through emotional, mental health, physical health, nutrition, housing, student resources, current and former foster youth resources that are specific for all the UCs, and then as well as some family resources. So in this pamphlet, you'll not only get kind of a breakdown of what each of these mean and how you can go about them at home, but also resources that you can take to try out. A lot of free trials, a lot of different giveaways, I guess, and information that I think could really be beneficial. And of course, we're always here to support you as well. So if any of this information is a little unclear, please feel free to reach out to us. You can use any of our, socials or reach any of the emails that were given here. And I'll give my email at the end as well. But yeah, this will, like Cinnamon said, this will be emailed out to you at the end of the webinar. Cinnamon, would you like me to go through some of the pages just to show, or is this good?
I think this is good. I think this gives a good general overview. And I also wanted to say, like, thank you so much, Sophia, for working on this, and to Astrid for making on these backgrounds. And thank you both so much. This is a great flip book. And I also want to say that we're going to add this on the website. So if you do not get the email for whichever reason, it will be on our website, which again was in the confirmation email that we sent yesterday. So you'll have easy access to this. And if for whatever reason neither of those are working, please feel free to email me. I will be adding my email to the chat. Thank you so much, Sophia, for working through this. If you want, I mean, this is amazing. I love this. It's like a magazine, which is so cool. So thank you for working on this. So we're going to move into the affirmations. We have 2 minutes. So thank you so much, Sophia. I really appreciate you, and appreciate Astrid and all the team. I appreciate each and every one of you so much. And thank you to all the staff who's putting their emails in the chat. I really appreciate that as well. So really quickly, to close out the day, I wanted to do positive affirmations. We talked about mindfulness during the break. Mindfulness is so important to reduce stress. So really quickly, I'm going to read these affirmations to you, and I'd like you to repeat them in your head. So just give yourself a minute to feel a little relaxed. I'm going to speak these out, repeat them to yourself in your head. I got this tip from like a YouTube video, so I hope this works. But so the first affirmation is, I honor my innate resilience. It is getting me through. Okay. The second affirmation is, I deserve to find ease and refuge amidst it all. I may have said that wrong. The next one is, I choose what I become. I choose what I become. And the last affirmation, that's never the least, is, I am enough, always. So to those of you closing your eyes, open them up. Thank you so much again to everyone. I want to thank again so much the full-time staff who is here. Thank you to Santi for doing the workshop, to Claudia for doing the PowerPoint, to the team, Sophia and Astrid. None of this is without you, to Jewel. None of this can be done without any of you. So thank you so much. And thank you to the students for sticking around and sticking with us. I will be here for a few minutes. So please, if you have any questions or if you want to know any more information, we'll be here. But thank you, thank you, thank you. We love and we appreciate each and every one of you, and go enjoy your Saturday, y'all. Like, you can turn up now. The weekend has started, but thank you so much. And we love and appreciate each and every one of you. Lead with grace and remember to always ask for help. So thank you so much. Love you all. Thank you.
Great job, everybody. Great job, everybody. Thank you so much.
Hey, Dr. Ojeda.
No, congratulations, doctor.
Hey. Thanks, everybody. Great
Thanks, Dr.
work.
Ojeda.
Thanks, y'all. Appreciate you.
Thank you for
joining us.
Of course. Great job on the panelists too. That was amazing.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you to Jewel. It was great facilitation. It was awesome.
Yeah, she's a pro.
Don't put that out there. Don't put that out there on YouTube.
I know. Let me stop recording on YouTube. People are going to be like trying to hire us. No.